Question of the day. Do divorced dads get a raw deal? Let's talk about it. Hey, Charisma here. Welcome back to Charisma Daily. If you're new around here, hello. The question is of the day is do divorced dads get a raw deal? Now, based on my own life experience and many people that I know and what I've seen in the world and in the media, divorced dads tend to get a raw deal. And right today, I'm talking specifically about divorced dads. So men who have been married and now divorced. But generally, when it comes to men being fathers and children from having children from a relationship, they tend to get a raw deal when the relationship is over. However, today I'm just going to focus on divorced dads, and I came across a very interesting article by the Good Men Project, and I want to share that with you today. And he's sharing some antidotes and some stories about other men who divorced dads who've actually had various experiences. And I want to bring that to you today. So let's get into it. Tom Maclack from goodmenproject.com says, do divorce dads get a raw deal? See, Tom Maclack argues that guys get unfair treatment when they're divorced. What do you think? He says, my friend Pedro taught me pretty much everything I knew about being a dad. We both had big houses, important jobs, and angry wives with whom our relationship came to a sudden end. We also had kids. I had 2 and he had 3. He had twins roughly the same age as my kids at the time, 1 and 3. He also had an older adopted daughter, Janet, confined to a wheelchair and with very limited verbal skills. In the beginning, I had no idea how to take care of my babies during my weekends with them. So I watched Pedro with his 2 toddlers and a special needs child. He did it with patience, joy, and perseverance. From him, I learned to roll up my sleeves and get dirty and treasure the small moments of bonding with my own children and eventually others I met along the way. In the end, Pedro's ex-wife pursued a job out of state. She went to court to take Pedro's twins away from him and, having no desire to have anything to do with a special needs child, left him left him with Janet, sorry. Pedro, an attorney, defended his own case and lost. For the last decade, he has seen his twins only on appointed weekends and has been Janet's primary caregiver. Okay, before we go on, help me to understand why this ex-wife of him would have fought for the twins who were completely healthy and normal, but she didn't want the special needs kids. Okay, so some can argue, okay, the special needs kids would obviously required a lot more attention, a lot more care. Yes, we know that's a given. But she fought for the twins, 2 kids who are a twin, but she didn't want the special needs child. Why? Can you answer that? Can you tell me what you think? Why she would not have wanted a special needs child? Besides the fact it requires more work. Okay, she's working, fine, I get it. But aren't twins a lot of work too? Don't they require care and attention and money, and they need to be looked after, and they need love and all those things? All the things? It's very strange to me. But let's continue. So, Dan is a bonds salesman. He lives in Massachusetts, where alimony has no expiration and has 3 kids. After his divorce, his ex wife took up with another man who moved into Dan's own house with his kids. His ex didn't marry her boyfriend. She wanted to continue the generous financial arrangement set forth in the terms of the divorce, which means that if she had remarried this man who was living in Dan's house with his kids and his ex-wife, the means that the alimony and the whatever he was paying to take care of the kids, and maybe she was getting some too, would have come to an end or it would have been decreased. So she's smart. She didn't want to marry the ex-boyfriend. She didn't want to marry the boyfriend. She wanted to continue to shack up with him in Dan's house with his 3 kids while she got alimony. Interesting. Dan got remarried and decided his own means of financial survival would be to quit his job. Eventually, Dan hired an attorney who brokered a new agreement that put a time limit on the alimony terms. Now, I've never heard of this before, where maybe it's different for various states. But my understanding and my experience have been that alimony generally comes to an end at some point, when the kids become 18 and so on. But apparently in Massachusetts, it goes on for forever, which is interesting. His ex-wife eventually married her boyfriend, but Dan, who'd been out of work for a year, had no choice but to get a job out of town away from his kids. Interesting. Do dads get screwed in divorce? The stories of these 2 men, what's going on here? Both close friends of mine reinforce my own personal experience and led me to believe that the answer is frankly yes. But we wanted to hear what you think. Here's what some readers have written in. So this says, men absolutely and often get the short end of the stick financially in divorce. There is a big myth out there that men make out like bandits in divorce and women get left in poverty. This is completely untrue. Ironically, it is this myth that causes women to resist fathers having more parenting time, as the less time the child is with the father, the more money mom gets. So fathers get the shaft twice. Their time with their children is limited, and they get to pay for being pushed out of their children's lives. And then here's someone else says, so that was Anne, and she is a father's rights attorney from dadsrights.org. A second person says, Scott says, when I was presenting a workshop at a national judges conference, I asked those judges whether there was bias in family court during divorce. Their answer, yes. But usually it's against women, not men. Really? I don't think so. Their reasoning make perfect sense. Society expects mothers, not fathers, to be the natural nurturers, okay? So if mom falls just a bit short of the ideal parent, we consciously penalize her. In contrast, if dad changes a couple of poopy diapers, we unconsciously gives him extra credit. So if that's true, then why do mothers more often have custody? The judges explain that it's not the court's bias against fathers, it's men's bias against fatherhoods and dads who run away from their responsibility. Interesting. Those are the ones who are skewing the numbers. It's the men who fight paternity or who are abusive, who are making responsible fathers and husbands look bad. The fact of the matter is, when men actually want and ask for custody, they are much more successful than some would have us believe. Well, I don't agree with the judge here. I do not, or the judges, because they're saying it's the few bad apples that makes it bad for other fathers who are upstanding, who are there for their children. They're saying that it's the ones who run away from their responsibility, who don't want to pay the child support, who don't want to take care of the kids when the relationship comes to an end, that it is their fault, that the good fathers, the responsible fathers, gets penalized. No, I don't agree, because each case is a by case situation. You are supposed to judge the case based on its own merit, not not because of some bad apples. So the fact that they're going to say, oh, it's because of the other irresponsible dads and fathers that's making it bad for the good fathers and responsible fathers, that they get penalized and they get screwed over, well, then the system is clearly flawed, because it should not be based on the bad apples. And in general, I truly believe that dads get a raw deal when it comes to divorce. I personally know family members who have been upstanding fathers and continue to be upstanding fathers, even though that the relationship has ended with the mother. But the lengths that the mom, let me speak of just one case, the length the mom have gone through to destroy this man's life and his reputation baffles my mind. All he wants to do is to be a good father to his child, to be there, to take care of her, to support her, to take her to school every day, pick her up, drop her off. She spends time with him, be there for her, support her financially and emotionally and spiritually and all the things. But yet, the mother, it's such, let me be nice, okay, that she makes his life a living hell to this day. During the marriage, she did, and even after, when it comes to his child. So you tell me, a man like this, should he be penalized for an irresponsible father that runs away and don't want to look after his children? No. The system is clearly flawed. And the system is flawed so bad that the mothers, they get more advantage because they're the mothers, and even though if they're a bad parent, even if the mother is not a good mother, and even if it's proven in court that the mother is not a good mother, she's not there, she doesn't take care of the children, whatever those reasons, if she's not a good mother, it still does not, generally, I'm sure there's some cases that are extreme, that that the kids would not be given to the mother. However, generally, even though the mom is not a good parent, she gets the kids and she gets the money to look after the kids. And it baffles me. It baffles me. It baffles me. It baffles me. If you are a father, whether you were married or not, but obviously the relationship has come to an end, what has been your experience? Tell me. I want to hear from you, because we need to talk about this more. And fathers, responsible, loyal, good fathers need to speak up so that their rights can be heard, that the experiences that they're having can be heard, and so that the system, the court system, which is so biased, can be changed. Let me know in the comments, whether you're watching this on YouTube or listening to a podcast, what has been your experience? If you're a father and you believe that, you know, that it's unfair, do you believe it's unfair that you've gotten the raw end of the deal? I agree. I think you've gotten the raw end of the deal if you're a father, a divorced dad, or a father that, you no longer have any, you're not in a relationship with a mother, but you want to continue to be a part of the child's life or children's life. Okay, so I want to share something else with you here. And actually, maybe I'll leave that for another episode, because that's a deep one. But I do want to round off this episode with one of the comments I received today. I want to share a comment. Ironically, it's about double standards. So let me share this with you. Let's see here. Comment. Okay. So this episode that I just shared with you, do divorced dads get a raw deal, right? They do. I agree. Which means there's double standards. So I did a story about a 31-year-old woman who had sex with a 13-year-old. If you haven't seen the episode, you can go back and watch it. I believe she was from Mississippi. And let me just check. I think it was Mississippi she was from. She had sex with a 13-year-old and got pregnant for the 13-year-old. And she was charged. However, all the she didn't get sent to jail. And my thing was, why is it this woman going to jail? It's double standards because clearly if a man, 31-year-old man had sex with a 13-year-old girl, he would have gone to jail. He would have been charged with a wazoo of charges, right? And clearly he should be. So why is it that this woman did the same, she had the same crime, but she's not paying the same time as a man would? So I did an episode on that, and I also did a shorts on that. And this comment here from Jacqueline Miles, I want to address this comment. Jacqueline, if you're watching this episode, this is for you. Your response to my video, men, do you think this is double standards? Charges drop. So the charges were dropped against this woman. She didn't go to jail. She was pregnant, okay? But that doesn't mean even if you're pregnant, you can have the baby and then go to jail. I don't understand why the charges were dropped. Because, like I said, if it was a man, he would have gone to jail, hands down, okay? So Jacqueline Miles asked this question. I like how when people hide behind there's no profile picture, just an initial. Anyways, is that woman white? Yeah, I believe she is. Would you be talking about this if the woman was black? Jacqueline, it baffles me why some people make everything about race. The episode that I shared was not about race. Most of my episode on this show is not about race. It is about male versus female. It is about double standards when it comes to when it comes to you know the law, the legalities when it comes to male and female, when it comes to this world, how things are viewed, people's opinions, the biases, the prejudices when it comes versus a man versus a woman, feminism, all of those things. So I'm trying to, it really baffled me this morning when I saw this question. Is that woman white? It, I would have had the episode whether it was white, she was white, black, whatever. That's not the point. That's not the premise of why I did the episode about this story. First of all, there have been many stories in these situations that's happened where a very mature age woman having sex with a minor, okay, and gotten pregnant. There's many stories. This is a recent story that came across my feed, and I shared about it and I talked about it. I can't talk about all the stories. It just happened that this was the most recent one. So whether the woman is black, white, Indian, Chinese, whatever race she is, has no bearing on why I am sharing this. Now, I think, here's my opinion. I think that you figure because I'm black, right? That I would not talk about a story like this if the woman, the predator, was a black woman. Hell yes. Because to me, it doesn't matter what race you are. If you did something like this, it is wrong. So it's about right versus wrong. Okay? And it's about having morals versus being immoral. Okay? It's about this a predator. So whether it doesn't matter the color of her skin, I would have shared this story. So, Jacqueline, would you be talking about this if the woman was black? Yes. So I hope I answered your question. And it really, people, her concern was not about the boy, the 13-year-old boy, a child, pretty much. And I shared on the full episode that I am sure that he did not choose to go to bed with her. He did not choose to sleep with her. At 13 years old, hormones are ranging. He's curious, I am sure. But do you see him approaching a 31-year-old woman wanting to sleep with her? No, she is a predator. So whether she's black, white, whatever color, whatever race, she is a predator. And should the charges have been dropped for the crime that she committed? No. She should have gone to jail, just like a man would. So, Jacqueline, before you come up on my platform and ask me ridiculous questions, please take a moment to look at all of my episodes before you start to judge me and think because I'm black, therefore I will have a bias of the person who committed the crime. And that's all. I said what I said, and that's all I have to say about that. Okay, so if you're watching this, wherever you're watching this episode, whether this you're listening to this on a podcast platform or you're watching this on YouTube, I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear, as I mentioned before, what do you think about divorce dads? Have you had a personal experience with the same topic today? And I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear from you as always. And I just have to say this one thing. I want to hear from you. I'm going to be sharing comments. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it yet. If I'm going to dedicate a full episode to just comments alone, certain comments, not all the comments, some comments like this one. But I didn't want to leave that one. I really wanted to address that today. So I'm not sure what the format's going to be yet for comments or some of your feedback. I've been getting some really amazing feedback on some of the topics and the stories that I'm sharing here. I do appreciate it. Keep those coming. And so I'm not sure what the format's going to be like yet, but I really had to address that one. That one was just like burning me. Anyways, remember, people don't have to love you. They don't even have to like you. But when they look in the mirror, when you look in the mirror, you better love what you see. Take care and bye for now.